How much do you play small in your life? We are often conditioned to play small, to be quiet, to not draw attention to ourselves, to be this, to be that. We have the opportunity to do great things and to fully express ourselves and to allow those ideas and dreams to come out of us. That is all of ours for the taking, yet so often we don't take it because we are conditioned to play small. Oh, hello. I am so happy to be back filming more episodes of the Shimi's Business Show. It's been a while, but I've got so much to say and so much I want to talk about and so much I want to chat with you about. And today I want to chat with you about something that has really been bubbling up in me to share, and I've been really paying attention to this in myself for quite a while now, and it's this. It's something that wreaks havoc on us. It holds us back. It stops us from achieving so much success, from making so much money, from having so much impact in the world, and it's this: playing small. Playing small. Just think about it for a second. How much do you play small in your life? How much of the time do you hold back? And if you do, you know that kind of all-consuming, suffocating feeling of playing small. It's like you have all these ideas and all this feeling of more bubbling up inside of you, and it's right there and you can feel it. But then it's like you keep pushing it back down. You keep holding it down and playing small and talking yourself out of everything. You know, playing small is that little voice in our head that says, wait, who are you to do that? No, come on, not for you. It's that little voice that makes you think that you should settle for less. It's that little voice that says, you're too this, you're too that, you're too whatever. And it keeps us playing really, really small. It keeps it, to be honest, it keeps us playing on the sideline for most of the time. And I know I have struggled with this so much over the years, and it's really blooming frustrating when you stop and ask yourself, if I actually played a little bit bigger, even just a little bit bigger, how would my life look? If I played really, really big, how would my life look? And when you actually answer that question honestly, unless you play really, really, really big, in which case, amazing, please do share your secrets. But if you did actually play really big, how would your life change? What would it look like? And for me, I've had moments of playing really, really, really small, and I've had moments of playing really big. So I want to share that with you, and I want to share the biggest lessons I've learned, because when I was playing small for a very long time, oh my gosh, honestly got myself into such a state. And maybe you have or have not experienced these things, but for me, the time when I was playing at perhaps my smallest, I had so many doubts bubbling up inside of me. So I had these big dreams and ideas. I knew I wanted to be successful. I knew I wanted to build a really successful online business. I previously had built a really successful online business, and then I had the idea for the Female Entrepreneur Association. But I had all this imposter syndrome around, who am I to do this? And I felt embarrassed, and I felt like I didn't have the qualifications to do it. How many times do we think things like that? And so I played small, and I would take some steps. So there'd be times when I'd, for example, build a website and get going with something, and then I'd stop myself. And this was kind of a repeat thing that I did: take a little bit of action and then just stop and freeze and procrastinate and overthink everything and undo all the things that I'd been working on and talk myself out of it. And this went on for years and years, to the point where I ended up having really bad heart palpitations. I had such bad anxiety. I felt like a mess in myself. I felt like mentally, I felt a mess. I felt lost. I felt confused. And I started with this voice in my head that was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. And it just became a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then the more I told myself I don't know what I'm doing, the more I felt like I didn't know what I was doing, the less I did. And the more my anxiety started to build and build and build, and these heart palpitations just became so bad. And it was really frustrating. And then in 2011, I hit a point. I remember once crying my eyes out on my bed, being like, what am I doing? Because it was so, I mean, you know that feeling, it is all consuming. And I remember feeling like I just had enough. I was so fed up, and coming across quotes. So like there was 2 Tony Robbins quotes that I found so empowering. One of them is, your destiny is determined by the choices you make. Choose now, choose well. And that realization of like, what choices am I actually making? And what destiny is it actually creating for me? And is it the destiny I want? No, it is not. Well, maybe make some better decisions, Carrie. So that was one of them. And the other one was 10 years from now, you'll surely arrive. The question is where. And that one really hit me hard as well, because I was like, wait, where am I actually going to arrive if I carry on doing this to myself? If I carry on playing small, if I carry on basically smashing to pieces my own ideas, my own self-worth, my own like dreams, like what is going to happen? Like, where will I be in 5 or 10 years? And I realized I didn't like that journey. I didn't want to get to that destination. I didn't want to find out how that story ended. And in that moment, I realized I needed to make a change. And so I did, and it was so subtle. No one noticed. It was a silent, very silent change within myself. And that silent change was, I'm going to figure this out. That was the shift. I'm going to figure this out. And I realized that often playing small is us battling with our own inner demons, our self-doubt, our lack of self-worth and confidence and all of that stuff. But you actually don't need confidence in order to make the change. What you need is courage. And it doesn't have to be masses of courage. You don't have to do anything crazy. You can just do it very, very silently in a way that no one else notices but you. And even that shift of going from, oh, I just don't know, I'm trying everything, nothing's working, I don't know what I'm doing, this isn't working, whatever it is that keeps us playing small, for whatever it might be for you, going from that to shifting to, I'm going to figure this out, I'm going to go for this, I'm going to make this work, I'm going to find a way. That little subtle shift is probably one of the most courageous acts you can ever do for yourself. It's huge. And if you continue to focus on shifting the questions you're asking yourself and the way you're thinking, then even though it's a small shift, it's very, very subtle. It's a very, very much an inner piece. Outwardly, you're not really, you're not doing anything. You're not like having to go and speak on a stage or do something crazy that's going to cost you a fortune. It's just very, like I said, an inner shift. But doing that consistently over time, your entire life will change. And I know that was the case for me. Like, I started to really reprogram myself to be a little bit more daring, to be a little bit more courageous, to go after my dreams in a way that I hadn't dared to before because I was playing small. And who am I to do this? And, all those things, all those reasons why we keep ourselves playing small, and make it like literally downloading a new software for my brain, essentially for myself, and living by it completely shifted my life. And, I started, for example, step one, let's have a step here. Step one, like really creating awareness around what playing small looks like for you, the ways in which you play small, the things you say to yourself. What do you tell yourself? What is that recurring, repeating thought process that you end up thinking that is what keeps you playing small, that makes you want to smash to pieces potentially your ideas or your dreams and makes you want to hold back? What's the thing that makes you freeze? What's the thing that makes you procrastinate? What's the thing that makes you put off actually doing the things that you perhaps know you need to do in order to move forward? Is it the thought of, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to do it, I'm not good enough, I'm not qualified enough? What is your I'm too? What is that? and make a list and write it down, maybe over a series of weeks. Write it down and create awareness around what are you telling yourself that's keeping you playing small? And also, maybe there's other people around you that are making you feel like you need to keep playing small. Maybe there's people around you that are afraid of you becoming successful. So tell you things like, oh yeah, but that's not for people like us, or whatever it might be. And make a list of everything that's going on. Because the biggest thing I've realized is once you have awareness around what's happening, you can actually do something about it. And like I said, doing something about it rarely means something crazy big. It's not usually anything crazy big. It's usually something fairly small and subtle that does require courage, but it's a tiny shift of, it's a tiny amount of courage. It's a doable amount of courage. And so getting clear on all of that. And because what we do is we hypnotize ourselves with the things we tell ourselves. We literally hypnotize ourselves with it. So how often are you waking up and going through your day thinking things that are just breaking you down? They're not empowering you. They're keeping you playing small. They're keeping you on the sidelines. Versus how much are you telling yourself that, yeah, okay, I'm going to figure this out. Okay, yeah, I've got this and I'm going to make this work and I'm going to find a way. Where does, if there was a scale and then one side was playing small and one side was daring to play a little bigger, where are you on the scale? Which side is heavier? And for me, I know that for a really long time, it was way heavier towards the playing small side. And this is why I've really, really worked on myself, because it's not necessarily big, bold action, though it can feel very, very bold, but it's actually really just tiny steps of courage consistently taken change an entire life, will change everything. So for me, when I did it and I made that decision and I felt like I put my stake in the ground and I was energetically, I felt in every cell of my being that I am here to figure this out. It was like a whole body shift. And so then I started to make decisions differently. I decided that I was going to create a website and I was going to start going to networking events. And I went to networking events, even though I blooming hate networking and I am really quite introverted. I decided I'm going to go. I'm going to start talking to people. I'm going to start connecting with people. How can I be helpful? How can I be of service? What can I do for other people? What can I learn? What do I need to know? Who do I need to learn from? And I got myself into a place where I was just how can I be fully immersed in becoming the best version of myself so that I can play big? And it's not only that, it's the best version of ourselves. So one, we can be our own best friends and our own cheerleader. And two, finding a way to trust ourselves again. For how many of us is our trust just totally broken with ourselves? How often is it that we have these ideas or these sets of even gut feelings? We have a gut feeling on something, but how much do we ignore that gut feeling because we don't trust ourselves? We'll trust other people around us. We'll trust someone we don't even know. But how often are we actually trusting ourselves? I know for me that I have not trusted myself on way too many occasions, and it's led to the most awful, heart-wrenching, frustrating, difficult situations. And it's the same for all of us. But all of this, the courage to trust ourselves, the courage to take tiny little steps forward in the direction of our dreams, that is all dependent on the way we think, the way we feel, the way we're showing up, the things we're telling ourselves. So if we begin to reprogram that and put a new program in our minds, life begins to change, because we show up differently, we make different decisions, we're more courageous. And that's what I started to do. And tiny little step by tiny, nothing crazy. It was just tiny little steps. The pathway began to unfold and I began to build momentum and I began to see, oh, right, well, this is the next piece of it. And this is the next piece of it. I didn't know the full picture. I didn't know what to do or exactly where I was going. I just had this desire and this dream and this message that I wanted to share. And I didn't even know all of that either. I just started to share stuff. And that was really the way. And I think so often we hold back sometimes because we don't even know what to say, but you don't need to know what to say. You just have to start saying something, that's it. And that is a tiny act of courage, just having the guts to say something. All of us have something to say. But so many of us have got tape over our mouths and we're not saying it. And so if you can find a way to or for example, a very simple thing, step number 2, let's have another step, is thinking about what can you be telling yourself? How can you shift those thoughts that bring you down and keep you playing small? How can you shift those thoughts and what can you replace them with? So really thinking about, instead of, for example, I don't know what to do, I'm going to figure this out. And it's just that small of a shift. And then every time you catch yourself saying, I don't know what to do, you remember, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure this out. And finding phrases so you can replace essentially the negative talk in your head. And this isn't about positive thinking or positive talk either. I think it's about full embodiment. It's like really, truly, fully conditioning yourself to believe those things. So you get to the point where you just have changed the way you operate entirely. This reminds me of a quote from Esther Hicks, and it said, use your imagination until your big dream feels so familiar that its manifestation is the next logical step. And I find the same is true for like rewiring the way you think, is that the more you fully embody a new way of thinking, at first it might feel very uncomfortable and very unnatural, but then over time you just naturally start doing it and you're like, oh, these things that were a problem, that were really getting in my way, aren't actually a problem and aren't getting in my way anymore. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And so the way that if you imagine something and you really fully use the power of your imagination to, like, for example, I did this with my book. I would imagine writing my book. I would imagine how I would feel when the book was written. I would imagine holding the book in my hand. I would imagine walking into a bookshop and seeing my book on the shelves. I would imagine standing on a stage, speaking at a Hay House event. I would imagine all those things so vividly. I would feel it in every cell of my being. I had stood on that Hay House stage before I'd actually physically stood on that Hay House stage, and I felt the nerves. I would go to Hay House events and I would sit in the audience, and in the audience I would imagine it was me on stage, and I would feel the nerves in my body as if it was me stood on that stage. I knew how it felt before I felt it. Like I'd already been there so many times. I knew it was a done deal. Like there was no way that wasn't happening. I knew it was. And that's the level of conviction that we need to get in ourselves. And we can use the language that we are conditioning ourselves with every day. We can use our imagination to imagine better scenarios for ourselves. We all have the power to do that, but so often we're just not tapping into that power. But when we do tap into that power, it helps us to be a more courageous version of ourselves and to go out there and take the little tiny steps that we need to take to change our entire lives. And when we do that, plumbing heck, it's magical. Like so many amazing things can happen. So the reason why I wanted to make this episode was, one, just in case you kind of find yourself back in that place where you're maybe playing small, and like, can I also just clarify that I didn't just figure out how to like start playing a little bit bigger and be a bit more courageous years and years ago. It's been an ongoing journey, because I've been peaks and troughs where almost sometimes where the business has grown, or I've come up across a challenge, and then I somehow, like, all the doubts and the negative thinking starts to creep back in, and then I'm like stuck in a cycle again of this negative self-talk and playing small. And over the years, it's been this up and down battle with myself to try and course correct and like get back on track. And actually, this is for another podcast episode, but even in the sense of like from a leadership perspective of like building a team, blimey, that really floored me, and I felt so inadequate and incapable and like a massive imposter. And it really knocked me, and the impact that had, me playing small, me not trusting myself, the impact that has been huge in every level. The amount of money I've wasted, the lack of energy because of it, so being so drained, and all because I'm playing small and I'm not trusting myself. And we do this all the time, and I think it's recognizing when you're in that cycle and having those, and I mean, very, very simple tools to pull yourself out of it, and even sitting down and journaling to create that awareness and using your imagination and using the language and the self-talk, better self-talk, to help you pull you out of that situation so you can actually be courageous and daring and have fun with this and get excited by it all. Like, it's so important. So make your lists of what is going on right now. Also, rewrite that list for what you want that self-talk to be. Another little thing you can try, if you dare, this is fun, is record an audio of you saying out loud the new phrases that essentially the new messaging, the new way you want to hypnotize yourself. Instead of hypnotizing yourself with, I don't know what to do, or I'm not good enough, or whatever it is, you want to start hypnotizing yourself with like actually really good stuff. So record yourself saying those things and then listen back to it. If, for example, if you're in the car, listen back to it when you're in the car and start shouting it out loud. Tony Robbins calls this incantations, and I think it's blooming brilliant. So do it, feel it, like really embody it. And it might sound totally crazy, but the impact that it has is huge. And I promise it will change everything. So a little reminder, I'm sure there's some of these things you already do, but I feel like we always need a good reminder of this. I always need a good reminder of this. Sometimes I think I make these podcast episodes for myself so I can hear myself saying these things. But yeah, I just think we're here to play big. We get one life, that's it. And why the hell are we playing small? It so irritates. It really annoys me, like the fact that, in society, we are often conditioned to play small, to be quiet, to not draw attention to ourselves, to be this, to be that. And it's, you don't want to be too much of this, you don't want to be too much of that. And we're just like bombarded with this messaging from all over the place about how we should be. And we lose ourselves and we put this armor up around us, and we don't trust ourselves, and we talk ourselves down, and this obviously feeds into playing small. And then what? Like, it's such a nonsense. It's like, actually, we are here for this one-time experience, and we have the opportunity to do great things and to fully express ourselves and to allow those ideas and dreams to come out of us and to make a difference in this world, and for us to make a lot of money, and for us to do cool things with our families, and for us to have amazing experiences. That is all of ours for the taking. Yet so often we don't take it because we are conditioned to play small. Like, enough playing small. It's time to play bigger. It's time to take tiny, courageous steps and to do it consistently, because that will change our lives. It's not like we have to go around, waving our hands in the air, shouting about. Like, we don't need to do that. It's a small, subtle shift that no one even needs to know about. And I think that's the part I like the best. And it's also us just being ourselves, being our true selves, and having the courage to be our true selves. So I really hope that if this is something you needed to hear, that it has fired you up and made you think, yes, enough playing small. I'm ready to play big. I'm ready to make amazing things happen. I feel it bubbling up inside of me. I can feel it deep down, and I'm ready to figure it out and go for it. Then I really just hope that helps you to unleash it and for you to really start going on your way, the way you're supposed to be going. So think of one tiny courageous thing that you could do today, or it could be a big courageous thing as well. But think of something, maybe you've been putting it off, maybe you haven't been doing it, and just think of it and do it today and get going with it. And then make your list and make a commitment to yourself that maybe for the next 30 days, you're going to take tiny, courageous action steps every single day. And then I think once you get to 30 days, you'll just be on a roll and you'll just keep going with it. But I really hope that you have loved this. I would love to hear from you. So come send me a message on Instagram at I am Carrie Green, and or come and join my broadcast channel over there and we can chat more about this. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. And if you haven't left me a review on the podcast yet, but you do enjoy the She Means Business show, I would absolutely love it if you could leave me one over on Apple Podcasts, because it makes a massive difference. And yes, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you next time for another episode of the She Means Business show.